Welcome to FAMU NOW on SiriusXM Channel 142 HBCU. I'm your host, Kaylin Jean-Louis, also known as Inspiring K on the airwaves of WANM FM 90.5 The Flavor Station, our student-led radio station here on FAMU's campus. And today I am honored to share the space with a woman who is truly a trailblazer. Our guest is actress, producer, author, and philanthropist Malinda Williams. With a career spanning more than 40 years, Mrs. Williams is known for her standout roles in films like The Wood, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, as well as the iconic television series Soul Food, and I know a few of y'all listening know what that is. Beyond her work in entertainment, she's embraced lifelong learning and created opportunities for herself and others. She's embraced so much through her initiatives like She's Got a Habit and Arise and Shine Foundation, and her efforts empower women through entrepreneurship, technology, and self-discovery. Mrs. Williams is also the author of The Game and Life and How to Slay It, a book filled with transformative lessons and tools for personal empowerment. And last but certainly not least, we are incredibly honored because she is this year's Fall 2024 Commencement Ceremony Speaker, and we couldn't be more excited to have her with us today. Welcome to the show, Malinda.
Kaylin, thank you. That was amazing. I can hardly contain my smile and my excitement for being here. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and congratulations on the show and everything that you are doing. It is just amazing. I'm happy to be here.
Much. I am so happy to have you with me, and let's get right into it. I mean, you've had a versatile career across film, television, and entrepreneurship. How have your experiences in entertainment shaped your approach to the many different ventures you have outside of acting, like your foundation and coding initiatives?
That's a great question. So, throughout my entertainment career, and I've been in entertainment since I was a child, right? Since I was 10 years old. But to be honest with you, I've always felt like I was an entrepreneur, right? So you're kind of always working for yourself. It's never been a corporate job. It's never been a gig where I really truly had a boss or a supervisor. You're kind of the boss of yourself and your own supervisor, and you sort of rely on agents and managers to secure gigs for you. So I've always had that sort of entrepreneurial spirit. I've always felt like I had to be self-driven. My success was up to me. If I wanted to see this through and make anything happen. Yes, there were people who would support it, but I had to be the driving force. So, just being in entertainment has always given me that, muscle. I've just been exercising it forever, pretty much.
That's very cool. And I know with entrepreneurship, I'm in that world as well with my own nonprofit. And I know that it takes your work, it takes your investment, your time, your energy, and your money to really have that in there. But even with you mentioning being in the entertainment industry since you were 10, I mean, let's start there. That's a big career to even start at such a young age. What's kind of kept you motivated through your career, especially when there comes challenges, there are transitions between the different roles and just the different seasons of your life that you've been in this entertainment industry?
So I think there's a lot that's kept me motivated. Number one, I think the word no has always been a great motivating factor for me, because it's kind of like I've always sort of bucked against anybody saying or telling me what I could not do. I remember when I was about 12 years old and I decided I didn't want to do acting anymore. I didn't want to be in entertainment. And I went to my mother and I said, my girlfriends are trying out for cheering and they're doing things that kids do, and I want to go be with them and do that. And my mom was like, no problem. Take a break. Do whatever you want to do. And then I went and got a job at like Food Town or something, and I made significantly less money than I was making as an entertainer or as an actress, and I couldn't buy the things I guess that I wanted to buy, right? And so I told my mom, I said, this was several years later, I said, I think I want to get back into it. I want to start doing it again. And she said, okay, great. We'll take you to New York and we'll take you to the agency, and we'll go from there. And I remember standing in the agent's office, and she had me read copy. She had me read like a Smucker's commercial. And I read the copy, And she looked at me, very stern look, and she said, listen, you're too short to be a model. And you can't act. You'll never be an actress. So maybe just figure out something else to do. Wow. And that was probably the single greatest motivating factor in me really pursuing this as a career. So that's been one of them. It's just, a challenge. Like, tell me I can't do something so that I can prove to you that I can.
It's always something when you can prove people wrong, because a lot of people do have things to say, especially when they can't see your greatness before. And there's somebody I know who says you have to see it before you see it, or you never will see it. So the fact that you really were able to believe in yourself and have that factor, that's good. And you believed in yourself. You're in the space where you kind of came up with your own notion that I'm going to motivate myself. And now you've kind of moved that along to motivating other people in other spaces, especially women, with She's Got a Habit and just the Arise and Shine Foundation. Tell us a little bit more about those two endeavors.
So, Kaylin, I feel very fortunate. I feel very blessed. When I left home in my very early 20s to go to Hollywood and pursue my dream, I thought everyone was having the same experience that I was having. I came from a very loving home. My parents pumped us with, confidence and built up our foundation of self-esteem. So I went out into the world feeling like I could walk through a wall. And when I got out there and I started making friends and meeting people, I came to understand that everybody did not have your experience. There are some people who have lived experiences where they feel fearful, that they feel like they can't do everything that they want to do. And I see in them greatness, and I see in them the ability to be able to do whatever they want, to be able to have whatever dream they desire. And so even through my roles that I've always played, I've always tried to allow that sentiment to come through in the character. I always tried to choose characters that would be motivating, or characters that represented a young woman overcoming something, so that, the audience could see themselves in a character who perhaps started one way, went on her journey, and ended up being able to triumph. So when it came time to set up these businesses through She's Got a Habit, which is a multi-vendor marketplace, and the Arise and Shine Foundation, I knew it was always going to be about empowering others, particularly empowering women, and certainly Black women, because we've always been marginalized. We've always been, a lot of times we like to use the word underrepresented. I like the term underestimated, because I know what we're capable of, and I see it. I've always seen it, and I am it. So if I could be the demonstration, but also be the motivation that helps others to get to the feeling that I have of being so blessed and so fortunate, then I feel like it's my duty, And then another thing, just understanding that particularly Black women, Black men, but certainly Black women, and our whole community has supported me my entire career, right? From day one. This doesn't happen alone, in a silo. I'm not successful, or I haven't experienced successes because, I did it all on my own. Somebody had to be watching. Somebody had to drive me to the place. Somebody had to help me get some headshots. There was always, there's always been that support. And so, as I say, I feel like it's my duty to give back. I know how to motivate. I know what motivation feels like, and I know how far it takes you.
That's powerful. I love the fact that you're just able to help. I mean, representation is a big thing for a lot of us. And I know for me, even watching you on the screen, watching other talented Black actors and actresses on the screen really does give me and others who are watching not just, okay, I'm not just watching a movie. I really do see the storyline. I see what's going on in my everyday life, and I can see the stories that are being played out. Mm-hmm. You talked about a little bit of your journey when it comes to acting and even entrepreneurship. Now we move into the authorship that you were able to take and undertake. And you have a book, which I love the title of, The Game of Life and How to Slay It, because there are those roadblocks and those different tools we need to make it through. And you mentioned in there that discovering your purpose in life is key. And from our conversation, I can already tell that that was something that was big for you in your career, discovering that purpose early on. So how did you come to understand your purpose in life? And how did that realization shift your approach to your career and just your personal fulfillments in life?
Amazing question, Kaylin. I'm very proud of my book. I'm very proud of the fact that I authored a book. And the main reason I'm proud, not simply for the fact that I wrote a book, the main reason I'm proud is because it's my story, and I was able to share my story. Now, I had the courage one day to sit down and pen my experience. I had been all along trying to convey or offer pieces of my experience through the characters that I would play, right? And then it came time one day for me to say, okay, Malinda, you have to step out from behind those characters and tell your real story, because that's the thing that's truly going to resonate with those who read it and need to hear those words. So that's where the book came from. What was the other part of the question?
How did you come to understand your purpose in life, even through those characters, through those roles? And how did that realization just kind of shift where you ended up and where you are now in your career?
Any role that I've ever taken, I've chosen to take it. You know, when I played Bird on Soul Food, I turned it down 3 times.
Wow.
I didn't want the role. And I didn't want the role because at the time, my personal life, my relationship, my family life was suffering. And family is the single most important thing to me, God and family. And they kept coming to me with this role, and I was like, no, I'm not supposed to go play this role because I'm supposed to be here, you know, taking care of family business.
Right.
But it kept coming back around, and so at a certain point I said, well, Malinda, you need to look at this because perhaps it's part of your destiny. Perhaps, you know, there's a reason it keeps coming back around, right? And so obviously, as we all know, it was the role I was born to play, right? So there's that. But any role that I've taken or movie I've chosen to be in, or you know, people I've chosen to work with, has always followed my life. My life does not follow my career. My career follows my life. And so if it doesn't fit into my life, if it doesn't fit into my lifestyle, if I think in some way it's going to compromise my happiness, then I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. So that takes me to, I've always felt like I've been able to be myself, but I mixed in there was making other people happy, pleasing other people. When I came to the realization that you are a person who has the gift that God gave to you, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you do not fully show up and shine as Malinda. So that's when it became less about finding characters to play and more about digging deeper into self and pulling the character out of myself to show her fully. And, you know, naturally that just became part of the purpose. Part of the purpose was being able to show up wholly, completely as myself, and encouraging others to do the same. That's your superpower.
It is.
There is no other Kaylin. There's nobody else like you. No one else can bring to a room what you bring to the room, or to this experience, what you bring to this experience. And the more we continue to show up that way and reflect that back to one another, the more rich we will all be for it.
That's a good point to make as well, even just you finding your purpose through all of that. Because I think in life, a lot of times our purpose sometimes finds us. There's a lot of people you grow up and it's, what do you want to be when I grow up? And we say things for years. I used to say I wanted to be a pediatrician, and my passion found me. And so seeing just how acting, it kind of came back up for you, even when living your life, that's a lot of vulnerability to even play yourself and realize that you have to be in the space where I'm not just an actor, I'm not just a character. You are the person that you were created to be. And so how does vulnerability play in your personal life and the work do you do? Whether it's your foundation or just your creative endeavors, do you feel that there's power in allowing others to see those vulnerable sides of you?
There is absolutely power in vulnerability. Expressing it for the person who is feeling or experiencing the vulnerability, there's power in expressing it. And for the person who is receiving, also experiencing but observing the vulnerability, there is also powerful. It's also powerful. So it's an exchange. One thing I've found in expressing vulnerability is that people connect. You connect to that. Now, my training as an actress is to connect to people emotionally, right? And I think it's partly why I have such a long career. And then I'm able to sort of transfer some of my skills into other areas because I've already connected with many people through these characters emotionally. But now I have the opportunity to connect with people on a mutual level. It's not a one-way street anymore. You're not just sitting and watching. You are partaking. You are having an experience. We are having an experience together because I'm now showing my very personal vulnerability. Right? That's my stomach growling. That was a moment of vulnerability. So I think vulnerability is extremely important. It's what people connect to. And even if sometimes they don't know what they are connecting to, sometimes emotion exists within us and we're not aware that something is being tapped within us, but it is. And so that's where the connection happens. Sometimes it's an invisible connection. It's extremely important to me. And it also gives people permission. We're human beings. Yeah. If I don't show up and be vulnerable, then I'm telling you somehow that you can't be vulnerable. That it's not okay to be vulnerable. And it is very okay to be vulnerable. To show your emotions, to express your feelings, to be human.
That's the best thing that we can do as humans. If you didn't take anything away from that, please know that there is power in vulnerability. And for those just joining us, I really do hope you are taking notes because she is dropping some gems. She's giving a lot of words of wisdom. And you are listening to FAMU Now on SiriusXM Channel 142 HBCU here with Malinda Williams. And we just got done talking a lot about your career. Let's kind of go some more into reflection because I know that's a big thing. You have built this career, you've built your life, you've built your family, you've shown up in a lot of different spaces. And for me and a lot of people, you are such an inspiration. You're such a guiding light. What are the things that are in your life, whether they're big or small, that truly bring you joy and keep you grounded in everything that you do?
There's a lot of things that bring me joy. And part of my life journey was uncovering what brings me joy. Like, let me discover me. And what does Malinda like? What does Malinda enjoy? And what does Malinda not like? And what makes Malinda feel uncomfortable? And not in the sense of, do something that makes you feel uncomfortable, but things that I just don't want in my experience. So I've learned a lot about myself on my journey. Family, as I said before, is the single most, God and family is the single most thing that's important to me. It brings me great joy. Connecting with people brings me joy. And, connecting with people on set when I'm filming or connecting with people like here at FAMU, just connecting with people. I'm definitely a big people person. I love people. I love personalities. I love watching people and psychology and what makes people tick. And I think it's part of what I've used in my work as an actress, just observing life and observing people. So that brings me great joy. And I live my life. I'm not one of these people who's been sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. When am I going to experience my next gig or get that next movie or that next TV show? I have been out living, because I also believe that I've always believed as an actor, if you're not having experiences, what are you even bringing to a character? Right? Are you bringing the chick who sits around waiting for the phone ring energy? No, you got to be bringing real life energy. So I've been out living, and as you said, building my family, having relationships, failing at life, picking myself back up again, learning and growing. I've just been living, and I've been having a good time doing it.
That's a great thing, to live and not just exist. I'm glad that you're able to do that. And thinking about your personal journey, what are just some of the experiences or people who've shaped where you are today?
Well, I want to say first and foremost, my parents. I have two amazing parents. My mom and my dad. They never pushed me too far, and they never held us back. I have two sisters. They were protective, but not overprotective. They were very smart in how they raised us, I think. Now that I am a parent and I know what it takes to raise a child, they did it very well. And so number one, my parents, my sisters, my siblings, because they were my first best friends, my first playmates. They also taught me a lot about how to fight. And I don't mean physically. I mean, they taught me how to, because I had to fight for my position.
Right.
I had to speak up for myself. I had to use my voice. Because, sisters, if you have sisters, big sisters will be like, that's not what she wants. She doesn't want to do that. She wants to do this. And you have to fight for yourself and your voice. And so they helped shape me. They taught me how to fight for myself and use my voice. And then all the sort of people along the way, the mentors, the friends, the girls, the sister friends, the exes, everyone, my son, everyone who I've ever had any kind of relationship or experience with, I have drawn from them. They have helped shape me because that is how I live my life. There is no interaction for me, Kaylin, that is trivial. Mm. I was telling someone earlier, people have accused me in my life of being too serious. Like everything's not that deep, Malinda. Well, for you, maybe not. But for me,
it is.
I pull everything apart, and because I want to know how it works. I have an engineer's mind. I want to know how it works, why it does what it does, what's the purpose of it, and that includes relationships.
Family is huge. Your support system, your circle, those around you, they really do show who you are in different aspects. And so I'm glad that your family, your friends, and just the different loved ones along the way have been there to re-energize you, especially because it sounds like you pour so much into other people and you're consistently giving words. You're consistently making sure that you show up in every room that you're in. And I kind of want to pivot because, we are here on FAMU's campus and you're going to be showing up in a big room. You're showing up to the students at the commencement ceremony. And I just kind of want to know, what message are you hoping to share with the graduates? How do you see your journey as a source of inspiration for them and them stepping into the next chapter of their lives?
Well, first of all, I'm just so excited to be here, to be able to share the words that I have. But I think what was most important for me to share with FAMU is it's okay to be you. Everybody has their story. And so as I'm sharing the story of my journey, what I hope to help people discover is to take their own journey and learn why it is they came what their purpose is. It's okay to not have all the answers now. You'll get answers along the way. What's critical is having the questions. I always say answers are great, but questions are better. So that's one of the things I hope to impart. I hope everyone, but certainly the students, take away inspiration. I'm sharing my journey, and my journey hasn't always been up. It has also been down. And so, again, as you pointed to earlier, that vulnerability, just sharing parts of my story where I have been vulnerable and how I made choices that helped me to get to where I am today. This was not something I was ever expecting, along my journey. As you said, there have been shifts and changes, in my career and how I show up in the world, really. And so, as I said, the career follows my life. And so my life has become one of inspiring. And when I actually wrote the book, The Game of Life and How to Slay It, I just remember literally saying this to God. I said, I would love to get this message to women at HBCUs. That's really what I said. And then 3 months later, I randomly bumped into someone at the mall who helped to put me on this path that ultimately led to FAMU, and I'm sure beyond. So I hope to just share my inspiration, share my story, and, leave people feeling hopeful and inspired and motivated.
I know you will. You've left me feeling motivated, so I'm sure everybody will too. But I want to thank you so much, Malinda, just for sharing your journey, your wisdom, and really your heart with us today, sharing who you are. You've inspired so many, and I know the audience, especially FAMU graduates, will carry your words with them as they continue in the next chapters of their lives. Before we go, I want you to be able to let our listeners know where they can find you, where they can connect with you, whether that's social media or just any other site.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I am on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Malin's World. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find me on Fanbase now, which I definitely am new to Fanbase, but I'm on there as well.
Awesome. Y'all make sure to connect. Again, thank you so much. Y'all can connect with me on Instagram at @the_inspiringk21. But for our listeners, thank you so much for listening to FAMU Now. Be sure to stay tuned for more stories that showcase the excellence and impact within and outside Florida A&M University's family. This has been FAMU Now on SiriusXM HBCU Channel 142. Until next time, I'm Kaylin Jean-Louis. Stay inspired.